I'm here with our next speaker. We've had just an incredible panel of speakers so far, and we're up to our next, which is Leigh. Aimee is going to speak on the simplicity of envisioning, the language of the soul, and she's an international intuitive consultant, spiritual teacher, artist, healer. She, as well as some of our other speakers, have had many incarnations, many opportunities to really be who we are. And she's taught hundreds of students how to expand their spiritual awareness, intuitive abilities, and create an authentic life aligned with their truth. So I'm super excited to have you here, Aimee. Thank you and welcome. She's the founder of Soul Happy, offering intuitive readings, mentoring, intuitive development programs, and meditations. And she also has a podcast, Intuitive, a podcast. So how does somebody like you become so diverse?
Envisioning.
Yeah, I mean, life is so rich.
Yeah.
We have so many opportunities. It just kills me to see people who are on a single track doing only one thing and they're not happy. If they were on that one track and they were deliriously happy, I wouldn't feel sad. But I love seeing a bio like yours that's just loaded with things that you've tried and done and served with. So welcome to our community.
Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here. And I've really been looking forward to this time with you today, ever since we connected, however long ago it was.
Oh, thank you.
I love what you're doing here. It's a very important conversation.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things is that it's open to everyone.
Yeah.
There can be such a sense that, oh, that's not for me, or, oh, I'm not intuitive, or, oh, I don't know how to, right? And so it's not accessible. And part of really my passion is, whether it's intuition or envisioning or manifesting or just living your best life, whatever term you want to put to it, it's accessible to everybody. Yeah. And so just finding that entry point in for each of us, it's going to be a different entry point into that, into ourselves, really is what that is. And so helping individuals to find what that entry point is and make it simple.
When did you start investigating or understanding that you were an intuitive?
Yeah, so even when I was a little girl, right, like I just was super intuitive and I didn't know what it was at the time. It just was what it was. And then I would just know things, or my dreams would come true. And I always had this very deep sense of connection with spirit. And then as I got older, like I remember in high school and then into my early 20s, it started to feel like something was wrong with me.
Oh, too different.
I was too different and people didn't understand it. And the problem was, so-called problem, or the invitation was for me to understand it myself. And so that's where I started with, I went to a counselor and she's like, I think you need to go take this meditation class. And so I went and I took this 4-week meditation class into the introduction of what's been the foundation of what I've built my life on and my business on. And
so beautiful that a counselor guided you. Sometimes you hear horror stories about somebody saying something brass to somebody when they're young and it turns them right down.
Right.
If somebody guided you, got guided right to a perfect spot.
Well, you know what's amazing about it too is my intuition that brought me there, because I went online. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm finding a counselor. And I was looking at all the pictures and I came across her picture and the picture like popped out. And I'm like, oh, that's her. And so I went to her. And so it's just learning how to recognize and tune into the little subtleties.
Yeah. So we've talked today about authentic vision, kind of someone laid out some strategies to work kind of from your heart up to a master plan. Mm-hmm. We've had a variety of people talking about soul-guided, purpose-guided vision. And you're going to talk to us about the simplicity of envisioning.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this. Each speaker is bringing some individual gift, to the table about vision. And I love your area of expertise and that you've been steeped in intuition and being an intuitive person and helping and serving for such a long time, that I just wonder what do you think is some of the essential knowledge for someone?
Yeah.
As they embark on a journey of finding a true vision that they're going to really take off with instead of a to-do list.
Good. Well, I say this a lot, it's the place that we're coming from. So a to-do list is from the intellect.
Mm-hmm.
A vision is from spirit. And so what can happen is that the two become in competition with each other.
Interesting.
So if we're envisioning, if we have this like vision that comes up, or this feeling of like, wow, that would be incredible. So often then we'll immediately feed that to our intellect and try to figure out the hows. We'll try to figure out how does that fit in? And then what would happen in my life? And we start to become aware of all the changes, that the ripple effect that would have, and we shut it down. So I think that the essential ingredients to envisioning and to really creating what's authentically what we desire in life is to be able to find that neutral space of just observing and noticing. To me, intuition, envisioning, everything comes back to just being the observer, just noticing what you notice without the attachment. So with the envisioning being simple, I think I was sharing with you when we spoke a while ago. So when my son was like 5 or kindergarten, first grade, whatever, he was expected to learn how to read, right? And I remember there was so much pressure on him, and he was, I don't know how to do this. And so I'd read to him every single night. And I'm like, well, you take this sentence now, right? And so he'd read it, and I say, see, you just read. And he's like, that's not reading. I don't know how to read. And I saw where something so simple, he just did that. But to him, it was something so much bigger and outside of himself. And I think we do this so often in life, is that we discount our own experiences. And we think, well, it's not accessible to me, or I can't be doing it. So when it comes to envisioning, we envision all day long.
Yeah.
We envision, what is my morning coffee going to be like? We envision getting up out of bed. We envision going to the board meeting or having the conversation. It's a series of tiny little envisioning, right? And that's on the micro level. And then on the macro level, there's the envisioning your entire life. In 5 years, what do I want? In this year, 2022, what do I want?
That can be intimidating.
It can be very intimidating. But what the similarities are is just being able to notice what comes up for you, noticing what you really desire and what those visions are, and then letting them feed each other, right?
I'm so glad that you talked about our whole day as envisioning, because a lot of people, it's just like being intuitive. I think everybody's intuitive.
Yes.
They just have decided they're not.
Right.
Or they haven't opened to it. And some people are particularly gifted because they're so open to it, and they're just hearing and they're sensing and they're seeing.
Yeah.
But even what you just said, that we're always envisioning. So knowing in the audience here right now, knowing that you're always envisioning and you always have been, I'm hoping that helps you to not feel intimidated about continuing to envision. I just love that you said that. I love that you broke it all the way down to your coffee and everything like that.
Well, I think it's true. And
it's digestible.
There are so many, if we look at like all the amazing things in life,
yeah,
everything started with well, what if, or imagine if, or wouldn't it be amazing?
Yeah, think of all the, I think of all the sci-fi movies we watch and how the early Star Treks kind of had a flip phone and they had a cell phone, and pretty soon we'll have something here that we can just touch. But a lot of the early creatives who came up with things in movies, we end up with those things.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And so if we're looking for an entry point into envisioning, like if we want to actually say, okay, I am stuck. I want to envision, what does my next year look like? What does my next month look like? What is the next 10 years? One of the easiest entry points into it is just by asking a question. I talk a lot about being intuitively curious, not necessarily curious with your intellect, which then can lead you down a spiral, but curious with your intuition and your creativity that then spirals up, and it creates this whole opening for you. So if you just even start to ask yourself, like, okay, wouldn't it be amazing if, or imagine if,
Mm.
and just see what comes forward. Just free write that and see what you end up writing about. So it's not this intellectual exercise, but it's an exercise to allow yourself to start to dream and then dream bigger. One of the gifts of envisioning and being able to be in that dream space, the daydream space, is that there's no responsibility in it. And when we introduce the intellect and the hows and the, well, how this can impact this person and when and all of those things, we disrupt that. And we put responsibility into our dream space. But when we allow ourselves just to envision and then dream bigger, that's how we start to recognize, well, what do I actually want to create?
So how do you come to terms with the difference between the two?
Yeah.
Because that one part of ourself constantly wants to bring us back into the here and now.
Yeah.
Be super practical. And actually our society really praises the practical. They praise the analytical. I feel like as a creative over my lifetime, I've tried to make myself at times more concrete before I came to where I am now, where I love the power of who I am now. But because it's so valued, the academia. But in all those fields, you have the best people in those fields are way up in their creative space. So how do you come to terms with the contrast between the two and allow them to work? And at what point do you allow that concrete part to come in a safe way and lock hands and lock arms with that
It's a great
envisioner?
It's a really great question. So I think it goes back to that competition I was talking about. It's first recognizing that they're not meant to compete. It's not one or the other. We're at our fullest potential when we're embracing both our intellect and our intuition. And so one of the ways I like to look at it is that my intuition, my envisioning, right, my creativity informs my intellect. Whereas in society, a lot of times our intellect informs then, and it shifts that. But when we can start to allow ourselves to really envision and then recognize, oh, my intellect is stepping up in here and not making that wrong, not making ourselves wrong. I'm doing it wrong. See, I can't do this.
Yeah,
it's actually part of that process. Of course, your intellect is going to step in because it's taking care of you.
Yeah.
And so just noticing where you are and, okay, here's some information my intellect wants to give. You can jot that down. You can take note of it. You can speak to it, say, thank you so much. I'm going to stay here right now, but I'll be back to you in a minute. Right. And then continue to have that dialogue, but recognize that all of that is all parts of you. It's about being whole.
Yeah.
It's not in competition of, it's being in both.
Yeah, often for me, it's been the other way around. As I've learned to open more to it, like I was as a child, but as an adult, getting a really clever idea and my intellect being able to take a deep breath, calm down, and listen and hear what just came. And it's not a trivial piece that just came. It's something important. That's why it showed up.
Yeah, and I think that for those of us that are very creative and have ideas coming or visions coming a lot, like I have probably 10 of these with just scattered notes about them for years. And it's really interesting because when we learn how to just play with it and write something down and not have to then figure it out, let our intellect just take the back seat of like, okay, this just is, it's a neutral, like, interesting. This is information. I don't know where this fits on the timeline. I don't know what to do with it, but I know how it makes my body feel. And this is where being connected to our own energy and recognizing, how are we feeling? What visions come forward? What thoughts come forward? Does it feel contracting or expansive? Like being attached and connected to your senses as you're moving through envisioning or whatever it is, these things that come up throughout the day informs you. But giving yourself permission to just write them down and close the book. And, there's so many times that years later, I'll open up a book and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I need right now for my business. And it just wasn't linear time. Yeah.
It's interesting because in my chronology of what I used to do with ideas versus now what I do with them, do you feel like everything that's coming at you, it wouldn't be coming at, it an idea, a thought, a feeling wouldn't be coming at you for no reason. So when
Yes.
you jot them down, you're allowing yourself to just process them a little bit further because you've actually written them. And then you've put them there so you can just let go of them
Yes,
because you documented them.
exactly. And
It's
then
just
it's there.
Yeah.
And it's moving that then out of my space because it can be overwhelming. And I hear this a lot from clients and even myself, I can get into an overwhelm of there's so many ideas. I have so many ideas. How do I know which one to move on? And then we find ourselves paralyzed, like, never mind, I'll just stay where I am. But this is the way that what works for me is to meditate or envision or just feel into whatever works for you, whatever access point is available for you. Out of all the things, it's almost like a bookshelf. And if you imagine this bookshelf and there are all these incredible books on them, and all these books are your ideas, right? Or opportunities, possibilities. And you take a step back and you just kind of scan and look at, okay, which book is most true right now in the moment? Which one do I want to give my attention to at this moment? And so learning how to give our attention where we want it to go is a huge skill, especially in today's world where there's constant demand for our attention, right? But choosing that. Choosing
What's your best technique for accessing that?
Meditation. Yeah, absolutely. Meditation. Closing your eyes, grounding yourself, energy tools that just help you to center and differentiate between what is your energy and what's not. And it is a constant back and forth. Again, there's no perfect pictures to it of like you find this calm space and then it's just all clear and everything's fine and dandy. It's this constantly kind of going in and out and having the thoughts, and that is that process. But being in that space, that neutral space, to be able to take a look at what's actually true for you. I would say the next space, if you just want a quick hit, right, is just to feel into it. What's most true, and be honest with yourself. There's so many times we'll want one thing to be our answer and to be the truth and not the other, but it's just the opposite. And so when we allow ourselves to go, okay, when I feel into both of these, which one feels more true? Which one feels expansive? Which one feels contracting? And then being honest with yourself and trusting yourself to go forward with that.
Yeah, that's really great. Can you just get into even more articulate detail about which one feels expansive and which ones feel contractive? Can you like describe that? That's such a great, it's a great simple way to test anything. Do you feel open? Do you feel closed? Can you just go into that a little bit more as a tool?
Yeah, hold on. My notes that I was meditating on earlier popping up. So let me scan because I wrote about this a little bit.
Oh, great.
Okay, so for example, there are times where if I just have a vision or if I'm looking at my business and something that I want to create, which is huge right now with this new year, and I stop and I am just with it, just like that book on the shelf. I'm just with that book. There's a dialogue or an exchange of energy happening as I look at it, right? And in that, then the language of the soul is imagery, and the language of the body is emotions and sensations. So being able to tune into what is the language, what is being shared with you in the moment, what are you sharing with yourself? So being able to stop and feel into the body of, okay, when I think of this vision, when I see it, or I just even think of it, what is my body sharing with me? And a lot of times for me, the way that I feel it, and again, everybody's going to sense it differently. So it's starting to know, how does your intuition, how does your body respond? For me, if it's not aligned, and if it's a no, then I will start to feel more of a contraction. And actually the imagery, I was looking at this earlier, the imagery is almost like things are, it's coming in over me, and a little suffocating, right? Whereas if it is aligned and it's true, then it's the best way that I put it says, it feels like a cozy blanket. I knew this was going to come up. It feels like a cozy blanket, like I'm not a heavy blanket, but like a cozy, I'm being comforted. I'm aligned. I'm aligned with spirit, and that it feels like truth. It just feels true. Even if we don't like what it is, it feels true. And that feels expansive, and the imagery then is more open, and this bubble opens up and it's more expansive with possibility. So that's how I experience it. But again, it's noticing. So a lot of students, they will feel tingly, or they'll get really hot, or they'll feel like they need to get up and run out of the room, or they'll like, there's different ways to start to recognize how your intuition speaks to you. And it's just finding that entry point. But yeah, but it feels like, if it feels expansive and almost like time stands still, I would say, then that's a yes.
Yeah, for me, just to expand on possibilities of how it feels, if I were to articulate when if I'm confused about which direction to go on an idea, the direction when it's the right one for me, I feel like I can breathe big, full breaths. I feel like I have all sorts of, I feel like a big roadway has opened for me, like whoosh. When it's not good, I don't know which way to go. Sometimes if I don't know which way to go, that's one of the answers for me. If I'm actually unable, if it's not clear, if there's too much clutter, like you, I feel like I'm starting to get a little choked, like I can't fully breathe.
Right.
I'm a little like up here. I feel like cobwebby or a little confused. And that just tells me it's not a clear path.
Right.
Focus on the clear path. But it's really been serving. When we communicate with those messages, it's like we are letting the powers that be, the energies around us, we're letting that source know that we're paying attention, we're plugged in, and we just keep getting better and better at it. I think as we acknowledge it, I feel like for me, the acknowledgement of it, instead of just kind of thinking I was intuitive or thinking I was this or that, when something happens and maybe I'm on my way somewhere and maybe I forgot something and I go in the house and right next to the thing I forgot is the very thing I needed.
Yeah.
And I just laugh and I just put my arms up and I just say, thank you. And it's funny and thank you for that. Yes. But as I've done that, it's getting stronger and stronger because I'm flexing the muscle.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
It's a relationship with yourself, and it's a relationship with the God of your heart. It's how I learned how to refer to that. And with that, then, like in your relationship, the more you trust it, the more you respect it, the more you listen and communicate, then the stronger it gets. And with that, then it's gratitude and validation to ourselves. Like there's so many times I'm like, I still get blown away. Like I've been doing this work for so many years and I still get blown away in readings or wherever it might be. Like, I can't believe that, like, how does this work? I don't know exactly. I'm not going to question it, but thank you so much for this guidance and connection. One thing I do want to touch back on, if it's okay,
yes,
with that feeling of when things are so cloudy or like it's a no, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes a lot of times actually, that can be other people or energy in our space that's just not ours, that's making it a bit cloudy. It's like the sun is shining, but there's some clouds there that are making a little bit challenging to connect with it. And so there are times where we just don't have all the information quite yet.
So that's why.
Yeah. And so our intellect can put this time pressure on us, or we can feel the energy of like, I have to make a decision now. And when we can release that and just say, okay, no, I'm just going to let this sit in my journals for 10 years and see what pops up, right? If we take off that time constraint, then it allows for more information to come in and to kind of clear that and just get more clear on it.
So that's like a sign of not ready yet. Put it back in the oven.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I say that just because I think there's a third option there. Either one, it's a full body yes, two, it's a full body no, but then there is space in between of like, but I'm not quite sure yet. So let's just let it sit for a minute. And the moment we put our attention on something, it starts to create change, right? So we start to heal it and change and clear it, whether we're consciously aware of it or not.
Yeah, I love that.
And then so as that happens, then what's there when we touch back into it, be it an hour later or a week later.
So I would love it if you, because a lot of the things you're talking about, they're so felt and they're so understood on the higher part of our being.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to articulate them, people who aren't that experienced with them might feel like they're floating and they're not like down in concrete. So as we come towards the end of the interview, would you like to kind of summarize how you can use your emotions, your feelings, the things that you're perceiving and experiencing to help guide you towards an authentic vision?
Yeah, I would encourage, if you would like to expand on this, I would encourage you to you can even do an exercise of writing down like different emotions or even a clear body yes or clear body no, and feel into what happens for you when you're experiencing those, so that you can start to equate, oh, I'm feeling this. Now I know that that equals this. Yeah. So it can be in your practical senses and it starts that dialogue. So getting clear on how does your intuition speak to you? And actually on my website, I have a free quiz on how your intuition speaks to you. Different ways, like either you just know things off the top of your head, you see things, you hear things, or you feel it. And even knowing that helps you to get a sense. So getting clear on how your body talks to you, what a yes or a no is, and then truly going into those questions of the journaling of, wouldn't it be amazing if, or what if, or if I could have anything in the world, or if I knew that I would succeed, I would. And letting those questions open up a portal for you just to go and play and see what comes out. And recognizing as you're in that process, recognizing when does your intellect step in and want to take over? When does it start? Does your body go into fear at some point? And recognize you're just exploring it. It's not happening in this moment. Our bodies respond as if it's happening in the moment. That's why when we watch a scary movie, like we get scared, right? Our bodies are scared. It doesn't know that it's not happening in the moment. So as you start to envision and visualize and write out these dreams that you have, your body might go through that process if it's really happening. And some of that's scary because it's change. It'll challenge the survival, right? Because we like to stay safe. So recognize when that happens, tell your body the body's safe, and you just keep writing and seeing what's there. But those are some good access points. Both of those involve writing. I see. Yeah. Say that. But that writing helps to marry those two pieces.
Yeah. And then I think it was really beautiful to have you say that the intuitive part of us and the analytical part of us, they're really one, they're us. Mm-hmm. And they're working in tandem. So you want to, if you can think about them as friends, playmates, and that they have each other's back, actually.
Yes, they do.
Then we can shift using really good words and thoughts, shift the way we sometimes do battle with those, and just align them so they're not pulling apart, but they're working in tandem together.
Yeah, absolutely. And recognizing it's okay you can ask yourself, what part of me do I want to make this decision?
Yeah.
And if it's your intellect, beautiful. And if it's your intuition, beautiful. There's no right or wrong.
Oh, that's great too, because a lot of people feel like they have to do one or the other.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Because if you're really intuitive, sometimes you get to thinking that all your decisions should be made there. So that,
Well, there's physical laws. I mean,
yeah,
we need to feed our bodies. We need a roof over our head. There are
Yeah.
practical things that we live in this world. So to be able to honor both is pretty incredible and brings us to our fullest capacity. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, Aimee Leigh. Thank you so much. We put the link in the chat for everybody. She's got a free gift for you, and everything is there. And you can investigate her work and her website. And we hope to see you again.
Yes.
Thank you for the beautiful energy and sharing what you know, what you're experiencing, and to help us guide us towards an incredible year.
Thank you so much for starting my year off this way. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.